Hi guys, Andy here again, and in this lesson we're covering how to play the G major chord, which is one of the first and most played open chords for any beginner guitar songs and even more advanced songs. There's a couple of ways to play this G chord and we're going to cover those, but we want to make sure that we've got this original and basic open essential chord, the G major chord. So this is how we play our standard G major chord. We can strum all 6 strings on this one, and we have our first finger at the 2nd fret of the 5th string. That wants to be as much on the tip as possible so that it's not laying flat, and making sure that the other strings do ring out, because they don't if it's too flat. Your middle finger wants to get as far at this side of the 3rd fret and the thickest E string as possible, and it can help to be on a little bit of an angle to enable that to happen. If they're too straight with the strings, this will happen and it will be much more of a stretch, as you can see. Then our 3rd finger goes on the thinnest E string, and that's string 1, fret 3. And if we strum each of those, that's our G major chord. Now when we got these chords that have a little bit more of a stretch in them, it can be funny to know what to do with your little finger because it's not being used, but it is important, I think, to keep it tied next to this 3rd finger so that they kind of get strength from each other and we're not creating any bad habits early on. This is a really great habit to develop when you go for this G chord. And that's how we can play our G major chord. So 1st finger, 2nd fret of the 5th string, middle finger, thickest string, 3rd fret, and the thinnest E string is where our 3rd finger goes, 3rd finger, 3rd fret. Now there is a variation of this G chord that's really common and I'd recommend that we look at straight away. And this is simply moving your 3rd finger up a string and adding that little finger on the thinnest E string at 3rd fret. Now this doesn't include any extra notes that aren't already in a G chord, so it's not called anything else. But when we get onto the common changes and start playing songs, you'll find that this happens all the time. And for me, it can be considered to be our standard G because it's just used so frequently. But a lot of people struggle with kind of liking their little finger to get involved. So, it can be tricky at first, but persevere and you'll be able to use it in our songs. So this sounds like, and when we compare it to the first one, it's not a lot different. But as I say, it does lead to easier changes and better sounding songs. So this one again, that was our standard G. The 3rd finger moves up by a string and the little finger adds on, which is why if you're practicing the other standard G, you can leave your little finger tied next to that 3rd finger and it's already there in place for this other G chord. So that's how to play our G major chord. The next lesson in this series shows us how to do the common changes with this G chord, particularly the tricky change from G to D, but that enables you to do all the songs at level 3 of my beginner's songs on my website at andyguitar.co.uk. So you definitely want to cover the change before you go for the songs to make those songs easier for you, and that's coming up in the next lesson. I hope to see you there. Bye for now. You can download this video and the ebook that goes with this entire course by clicking in this area here. Click over there to watch the next lesson here on YouTube. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and all those links are in the description if you are watching on mobile.